Happy Friday. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great week, or had a great week. It's the end. Friday. So today I'm actually going to talk about racism, which it's just all over the place right now because of the whole Starbucks thing. And then apparently this little boy was talking about picking cotton and with the prom. And then this other thing happened with LA Fitness that's similar to Starbucks. And it's like all this stuff is going on with racism. And then you hear the things from the black people, in response to that. And then you have the white people who were chiming in and the Mexicans who were chiming in. And you have everybody chiming in. And none of it is understood. Like, it's just not understood, which is why we have the whole situation with the race to begin with, because people don't understand it. They don't understand the core of it. They don't understand where it comes from. Even black people do not understand where it comes from, which is why they keep experiencing what they experience. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today, and to give people who are not black an idea, an understanding as to what's actually going on with this whole racism thing. And, I had posted something on my Facebook. No, was it Facebook? I think it was Facebook. I posted something on my Facebook, asking people if they knew why racism cannot be abolished right now, like why it has to be present and why it's needed, like racism is needed. And most, when you look, when you read that, you're like, that doesn't make any sense. We don't need racism. Racism is blah, 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 whatever, people think it is. But racism has to be present in this moment. And the reason why is because the universe has to use it in order to help those who are feeling the end result of the racism. Like, if you have something within your soul, you're going to have to experience something painful in order for you to recognize that that is within your soul. Because you cannot have an improved soul condition, increased soul condition in terms of love, if you don't release the emotions that are within you. So, if you live a life, let's say you have these emotions within you, and you end up being in a place where those emotions are never triggered, then it will never be released from your soul. And so how people look at it is they just want to stop the pain. Like, black people want to stop the pain. They just want white people to acknowledge them. They want Mexicans to acknowledge them, or Latinos or Asians or whomever. They want them to be, or they want them to acknowledge them and accept them as part of being a human being. That's what they want. But that can't happen because within their soul, there's something that says otherwise. And this is why racism is needed, and this is why it cannot go anywhere right now, and this is why it will always be present until it is no longer needed. And if you can understand that, then you'll be in a better place, especially if you're black. If you're black and you understand this, you'll be in a much better place. So, like, growing up, some of you already know that I grew up in a Mexican or Hispanic or Mexican family, and a lot of them were racist. And some of them don't even know it. They don't even know the things that they do that are racist. They just don't know, because it's part of who they are. It's just part of what they were taught. It's part of how they were taught to view things, how to understand how these people are. It's the views that, their parents had that were instilled in them. It's the views that their friends had that were instilled in them, and they don't even know that it's there at all. So growing up, I was taught that white people are not to be trusted. I was taught that they have all the power and they will never let, anyone of minority get any footholding to improve themselves. Like, this is the stuff that I was taught. I was taught that white people hate black people. It's taught in school. It's taught when you do history. It's taught like this is how they are. And then you have experiences that validate that, that history and let you know that it's still present. And yes, indeed, it is still present. It's just in a different way. It's carried out in different ways. And so, I was taught all this growing up, and to the point where I felt like I wasn't worthy. And that's the whole problem. That is the whole problem with this whole racism thing, especially with blacks, is they don't feel worthy. And the reason why they don't feel worthy is because they're taught that they're not worthy. And this is the issue. So here's the thing. though I was taught these things, and those teachings created a feeling within me of having a lack of self-worth, and lack of self-esteem, and all these other different things that were within me, they didn't come from white people. They came from the Hispanics, and they came from the blacks. And I'm black and Mexican. Like, I have never encountered someone who was white who said you were less than. I've never ever encountered that in my life. But I was taught that. But I was taught that by non-whites. And this is very important, because if you're black or you're Hispanic, you understand that you were taught this stuff by your family. Your family, your friends, they have these views, and you absorb them. But it's very rare for a white person to just come out and say that. And when you do experience that, it's really a rarity. Now, we're starting to see it more and more, but that's because there's a lot of things happening with the energy, and people are becoming more, it's almost like, how would I say, the energy is causing people to be more truthful. Their soul condition is becoming more apparent, it's becoming more clear, and so when you see that kind of hatred, it's because it's always been there, but it's just starting to come out. And people aren't caring anymore. They're not able to carry the facade like they used to. It's very difficult to carry the facade these days. People are being more genuine. And when I say genuine, I mean their soul condition is just becoming more clear and more present. And so the anger that you see, the sadness that you see, the rage that you see, that's all coming from within the soul. That's all the stuff that's locked within the soul. And the reason why it's happening at this point, and I told you the other day, well, actually, I've tried to upload the video, but 5G was not working this morning for me, so I have to do it later on. But I said that there's an expiration date. And currently there is an energy that is upon the planet. And this is why AJ and the rest of the 13, well, actually it's 12 now, 14 total, but one of them died, so there's only 13 left. But the reason why they came back is because of this time, right now. There is a shift in energy on the planet. Absolutely, there is. But it has an expiration date. And so when AJ came back, and he didn't say this, but I'm like, these are the things that you can put together, and you can kind of get it if you listen to his things. If you listen to his videos, you can kind of see where, you know, when people ask questions that are not part of the lessons that he's teaching, people will ask just questions and he'll answer them. And these things come out here and there, and this is how you're able to put the pieces together. So, you know, the reason why they came back is because this is the time when it's easier than any other time in order for the transformation to happen. So you can have the information presented, but if the energy isn't right and people are not receptive of it, then there can't be much change at all. But if the energy is to a point where they can accept it, then this is the best time to give it. And that's why they're back now. But like I said, there's an expiration date. So how you, like right now, people are finding it easy to understand things. It's easier to see what is and the things that are really happening with people and things that are really happening on the planet, and they can see the truth of it and they're not blinded like they used to be. That is for a reason. There is an increase in consciousness. There is an energy that is allowing this to be had, but you don't have to accept it, but it's there for you to grab a hold and use it if you should choose to use it, if you should choose to want it. So your free will in this moment has more power than it did before. But like I said, there's an expiration date on it. And this is why it's important to learn as much as you can. It's like going to college. You know, you can go and go, but at some point you're not going to be able to be involved in that course anymore if you don't do well. Like if you go to if you take psychology and you want to be a psychologist, there's only a certain amount of time you can continue taking these classes and taking the tests before you can't take them anymore. There's an expiration date. Expiration date, people. Remember that. It's like your bread. Pretty soon you're gonna have to throw it out. You can't use it. It's no good. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, the things that I was taught in terms of racism that caused me to have my doubt, that caused me to have my lack of self-worth. I mean, there were that all came from people who are non-white,
And there were times when I would be invited to, this is way early, like in my late teens, early adult, early 20s. There were times I was invited to things and there were a whole bunch of white people there. I was like, I can't go in there. I just felt like, I can't go in there. I just cannot go in there. And because I didn't feel like, hold on a second, I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to be there. Because I already was taught that they don't like me, they don't want me around, they think that I'm less than, they think that I'm dirty, they think that I'm dumb, they think that all these different things that come along with racist actions and thoughts and sayings, that was within me. And so because I had those things, those beliefs within me, it created an emotion within me. And so this prompted this reaction of, I can't be around here because I'm not worthy enough to even be in the company of these people. And so I remember when I was younger, not younger, but yeah, obviously I was younger. It was almost 20 years ago. I had decided to help someone out. It was a professor, and they were having an in-home study session, and I had needed some money at the time, so I figured, I'll help out, and the person would pay me and whatever. And so I just, kind of I was like the help. And it was the most interesting thing because how we understand things, this is really important too for black people to understand if this is you. As I was there being the help, it's automatically connected to the history and what we're taught in terms of what the help is. Like house help. You have, the blacks who were outside slaves, and then you had the slaves that were inside. And so as I was, in that role, I couldn't help but be taken back to that. And even though I've never experienced that before, I experienced that. And the only reason why I experienced it in that way is because of all the things that were instilled within my soul that made me feel like I was the help instead of a friend just helping out. And so all of these students that came over, they were all white, they were all Caucasian, and so I was basically there to serve and do things like that because their goal was to study. It wasn't to stand around and get food. It was there to be prepared already. It was there, and I was there to prepare it and to clean up and do all this stuff. And I noticed that there were a couple of people who were absolutely against me serving them because it made them feel uncomfortable. And the reason why it made them feel uncomfortable is because they had the same understanding of what I was doing that I had. They knew. They felt, they're like, this doesn't seem right. This black person serving me, a white person. And every time I tried to take something from them or whatever, they were finished with their plate or whatever, or whatever, they were like, oh no, I'll get it. And other people just like, here you go. And they were okay with it. And so this is really interesting because people are, racism, if you're black, you're offended by every single little thing, and you need to get over it. This is one black person to another black person. You need to get over it because what you're allowing to do or what you're allowing to happen is people controlling you through the emotional injuries that you have within you. So every time you get angry, every time you get triggered, it's only because there's something within you that's being triggered. So if someone said, this little Caucasian boy, little white boy, had made a sign to his prom date saying, something about black people had to be black people had to pick cotton, but I'm not black, so I get to pick you for prom. And so, yes, it was in bad taste. Yes, there was a lot of ignorance involved, and the boy was really young. He was not an older person. He's still a boy. He's still a child, and he's still learning. And the thing is, he doesn't understand the seriousness of what he was doing. But that's because he didn't understand it. It wasn't like he was purposely doing it to hurt someone. He just understood that black people pick cotton, and he isn't black, and so he doesn't have to pick cotton. So he has the freedom to pick this girl as a prom date. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. All the little boy made was a correlation. There was nothing mean about it. He didn't try to disrespect anyone. He just simply noticed a correlation. That's it. It's almost like a correlation of Asians and driving on the road. Well, yeah, you can say it's a stereotype, but when you go riding around in Chinatown, you will see that the driving is quite different than other people. But that's not being mean, that's just making an observation. And so that's what the little boy did, is he made an observation. But because everyone is really easily triggered right now, everything is going to become an issue. But to my black people out there, you need to let that go. Meaning you need to stop allowing other people to control your emotional state. That is a form of weakness. And the reason why it's a form of weakness is because you have no control of what's in your soul. You have no idea what's inside of it and why you keep being triggered. Listen, you're going to be triggered until the day you die, and you're going to be triggered after you die, because those emotional injuries are still within you and you have to remove them. But if you're always being angry at someone and you're feeling hurt and your feelings are just, you feel bruised and you want to, clap back and you want to retaliate and you want to use it as a way to get something for free, listen, that is not a way to live. In anger, no. Living in anger is not a way to live. Living in sadness is not a way to live. Getting scraps from people is not a way to live. And the reason why these things keep happening is because you do not understand the things that are within your soul that have been transferred to you from your ancestors, from soul to soul to soul to soul, from generation to generation to generation to generation. This is why this is happening. As you remove these things, as you understand that any white person who says anything that's racist has nothing to do with you, but has to do with the anger that they are exuding because they're suppressing their own pain. And because they're suppressing their own pain and they're wanting to ignore it, they're making you the focal point. And you are responding to it, allowing it to happen. Look, people wouldn't say anything racist if they didn't get a reaction from it. But because of your emotional injuries, you are going to react to it. And this is because you don't fully understand what's within your soul. You're being affected by the effects of others instead of living from you and what's within you. I see, black people, we are strong, we are powerful, we are kings and queens, but running around, it's like you're running around, but you're not acting like kings and queens. You're running around like savages, really angry. If you look at our history, look at the reaction to racism. It's been very savage, tearing things apart, even in your own community. You tear things apart, watch riots, you all over the place. It doesn't matter, breaking windows, messing with other people's property, mainly your own property, to prove a point. I don't know what that proves, but whatever. It's part of our history. It's what's been done. So you can get mad at me if you want to, but that's just the fact. That's the truth of it. This is how history has been, and it will continue to be like that, and it has continued to be like that, even with Black Lives Matter. That was a recent thing that happened, and the same thing happened. People tearing up things, being violent, and yelling and screaming, and people getting hurt. And that is not a way to live. And if you want to stop living like that, then you're going to have to start understanding why people are doing what they're doing instead of just reacting to what they're doing. And this goes back to all the things that I've ever talked about in terms of understanding. You have to understand the whole of it. The whole of it. Not just part of it, because if you have part of it, you'll never be able to respond in a way that's conducive to love. You cannot sustain love if you're doing the opposite of that. You just can't. So this is why it's important to understand why I feel a certain way when someone says something. Well, it's not really because of them, it's because of me. So I'm feeling a certain way because of my emotional injuries, and they're coming at me because of my emotional injuries. It has nothing to do with them. They're just a cooperative component to my soul condition. And so earlier when I said racism is needed, it is needed because it has to make people angry so that they can finally see their anger. But as long as they keep ignoring it and just living in anger, then they're going to have to continue experiencing this racism. Look, I don't experience it like I used to. Actually, I don't even remember experiencing it now. It's kind of gone. But it's only because I understand I don't hate white people. I don't judge white people. I don't think they're, I don't look at them and say, oh, you're a racist asshole. I don't do those things because I understand why someone would do that. And I actually have a lot of compassion for them. And I only have compassion for them because I understand where they are. I understand that there's something that they're dealing with that they don't even know is there because they're ignoring it. They've been suppressing it for so long, and they just made black people a focal point. That's it. They're not going to be angry with themselves, because if you're angry with yourself, that means you have to acknowledge that there's something within you to be angry about. That can't happen. Racist people don't do that. They blame other people, just like black people blame other people. You're the reason why I don't have anything. You're the reason why this, and you're the reason why that. No. You are the reason why you don't have anything. Your anger, your hatred is the reason why you don't have anything. All that darkness within your soul is the reason why you're suffering. So if you're black, I'm talking to you. If you are suffering, it's because of what's within your soul. Not because of what someone else is doing. What someone else is doing is based on what's within your soul. But if you keep blaming white people for doing this and killing your ancestors, and look, your ancestors that died are the same ancestors of mine who died. There's the same people. But I'm not angry about it. I understand what they went through, and I understand why they went through it. And so, I told you guys I haven't, watched Black Panther, and people have some feelings about that. They have some feelings about me not seeing Black Panther, because they're like, you have to see it because they want me to feel the empowerment that they feel by watching that movie. And the fact is, that is never going to empower me. I empower myself. I do not need anything external of me to empower me. I am the powerhouse. And so I need to draw from my own power, my own ability to do things, my own confidence within myself, my own self-worth. I will not allow anything outside of me to play that role. And this is the problem with these movies, and this is the problem with black people in these movies, is they see it and they're like, oh yeah, finally recognition. But understand that in this moment, you are getting your recognition. But also understand that at some point, it's going to be taken away. Meaning people aren't going to care anymore. It's just the next hottest thing right now. That's all. That's all Black Panther is. It's the next hottest thing. Until the next hot. It's just hot right now. And people are on it. And you just so happen to be part of it. But at some point, there's just going to be something else new. Just like that movie, Coco. It's all about the Mexicans. And, it brings up great things. And people feel, yes, familia. And, coming together and supporting one another. Like, that's the theme of Mexicans. But that's not the theme of black people. And so when you look at the movie Black Panther, even that if you really look at it, it's actually doing a disservice to you, but you don't even know it. It's all about fighting. It's all about killing. It's all about control. It's all about, the good guy, but the good guy is the one that's hurting other people and killing other people. It's no different from the bad guy. And so, you look at it, you accept it how they present it to you, but you don't understand the truth of it. And this is why it's so important to know and have yourself as the powerhouse, to have yourself as the one who is going to build your self-esteem and your confidence. But the only way those things can truly be had is if you believe in yourself. But you have to know your potential. You have to know who you are and what you are. And you can't allow a movie to dictate that, because what are you going to do when another movie comes out and takes it away? So what are you going to do when another huge blockbuster hit comes out and it's a slave movie? What are you going to do then? Be angry again? This is what I'm saying. You're allowing yourself to be dictated by things that other people are creating. So instead of having yourself solidly planted on the ground and knowing who you are, you're just allowing yourself to be controlled by movies. I feel good because this movie is out. And then the slave movie comes out, and then you're feeling your lack of worth again. Come on. I mean, really look at this, people. Look at it. So anyway, yeah, anyway, the reason why, racism has to be here is because the law of attraction has to use it to help someone. There's someone who still feels less than, and they're going to have to continue feeling that pain before they realize, why I'm tired of feeling this way. And the problem is, you're really not tired of feeling this way. And if you're black, it's really difficult for you to really see what's happening, because you've been living in a state of suffering for so long. There isn't anything different. Like, you take someone who is extremely wealthy and you put them in the projects, that's going to be a sharp contrast, a huge contrast, because that's going to come from having and going straight to lack. And the gap is too great. And so the feeling is going to be felt, and the people are going to feel like, I can't live like this. But for black people, living in the projects, living amongst roaches and rats and thieves and rapists and murderers and robbers and all these different, this is the way of life, people. This is normal. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, they know it's wrong, but it's been their existence for so long. Even for the ones who, I just lost my train of thought. Even for, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Darn it. Oh my gosh. I don't know, maybe I'll get it back. The gap. The gap is too great for someone who hasn't experienced a great deal of lack. Even though they have lack within their soul, they use their willpower. And listen, look, if someone has money, if someone has a lot of money, then it's very easy for them to block their emotional condition, to hide their emotional condition from themselves, because they have the money to buy the things that make them feel good. So they don't have to have the lack. But understand that in order for them to have what they have, that means other people have to experience the lack. And this is why a lot of these people end up in the hells, because they feel like, I didn't do anything wrong to people. I didn't mistreat people. But at the same time, in order for them to have their addictions met, they had to take away from someone else in order for that to happen. So this whole thing where white people have most of the money, and they do have the majority of the money, but they don't want to let that go. They don't want to let that go, because they don't want to have to experience the suffering that other races are experiencing. And this is why they end up in the hells, because they could care less about other people as long as they're not suffering. And so there's a disregard for their fellow brother and sister, no matter what color you are, because we're souls. We're all souls. And so basically one group of souls is saying, I'm worth more than you. I don't want to suffer, so you're going to have to. I'm sorry, that's just the way that it is. And so there's a disregard, and and so these people condone the suffering, but not in a way that they feel that they would be condoning it. Like, they don't know they're condoning it. Like, they don't feel that. They just feel, hey, this is the way life is. Some people have, some people don't. We were blessed. Like, this is what they say to themselves. We were blessed. We're blessed. We just have to be, grateful that we have the things that we have. And they keep going. And this is why the truth, people don't want to hold truth, is because they don't want to acknowledge that this is really what's going on. Like, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, I said, some people don't want to know truth for different reasons, because it allows them to have an experience, but most people don't know what that experience is, and that experience, or the reasons why, because once you acknowledge the truth, then they have to be accountable for it. So if you do have money and you're listening to this, then now you understand. You don't have to accept it, but you understand what's going on. You understand your role. And I'm not saying you have to go and, if you're white and you have money, I'm not saying you have to go and do things for people, because the bottom line is, if you do something for someone and you don't have the correct and pure intent behind it, you're wasting your time. Like, if you truly care, then fine, do something to help another person, but not out of guilt, not out of being shamed. No, don't ever do anything for that reason. You might as well just go ahead and continue living the way you're living and enjoy whatever things you have, because if your soul is in a condition of not really caring, then you're going to have to honor your soul and continue to honor your soul until you don't want to be that anymore. And this is where this whole racism thing must be had right now. It must still be present. There isn't enough. There are just people who need those experiences. Like, I need my painful experiences so that I can recognize that there's pain within my soul. Because like I said before in that mini video, the only thing that matters is the love within your soul. And if you have pain, that means you have something that's unloving within your soul. And that will prevent you from progressing and having a better experience here, but mainly in the spirit world. Like, you will not have that experience. Like, first of all, this is the first dimensional world. We're in the first dimension. I don't know what these people get this 3D, or what is it? Yeah, 3D. Yeah, they think, Earth is 3D, three-dimensional, but they get that the perception of 3D. Like, you have 2D and you have 3D, but that's in terms of depth. But we're talking dimensional spaces, which is completely different. And so this is why people get so freaking confused with this 5D Earth, because they're taking something that they don't understand and trying to make sense of it. And you cannot do that, people. You cannot make sense out of something that doesn't make any sense. You cannot get sense out of it. So when you try, what's an example? Some people, I don't know. It's like you are, like you're and you're, like it's your comb, or you are a happy person, or you're a happy person. Like you are, I keep saying you are. It's your or your. Like those things are two completely different things. And depending on how you use them, like if you're writing and you use it, it's going to change it. It's not going to be the same. But what you're going to have to do is mentally make that change in your head in order for it to make sense. And so when you're using something like dimensions, like 3D, or like we're in 3D Earth, I haven't used that in so long, that's why it sounds so weird. And then you have 5D Earth, they're not talking about that. People think it means dimensions. And no, we're not in the third dimension. Maybe it was 3D Earth at one point. Oh yes, at some point it was. Because when Adam and Eve were here, this was a 6th dimensional place. Because that's what they were created in. At that moment of their creation, they were in the 6th dimension. And that made the Earth 6th dimensional. Not 3rd dimensional. So I'm not sure when 3D came about. But if it did come from that, then that's gone. This is a 1st dimensional Earth right now. We're not in no 4D, and we're definitely aren't in a 5D. We're not in no 5th dimensional Earth. This will only be a 5th dimensional Earth when your soul is at the 5th dimension, at the location where, I should say, is at the state of being able to reside within the 5th location. At that point, because see, here's the thing. Our soul dictates everything. Our soul dictates the weather. Our soul condition dictates the vegetation that's around us. Look at our vegetation, like on its own by itself, without any help from us. This stuff is dying. Like these trees are half dead. Look at the vine on to the left of me. How these weeds are half green and half brown. And look at these trees. I mean, you have a nice tree and then you have a dead tree. It's like you look at the state of our world, and you can see the condition. This is not a good condition, people, at all. It's not a good condition at all. So anyway, yeah, we're in the 1st dimension, and the reason why we're in the 1st dimension is because our soul state is in the 1st dimension. If we all pass right now, we would all pass at some place within the 1st dimension. There's a few people who would pass in a different place, but that's a different story. But yeah, this racism thing. I really wish people would be able to understand what it is. Every time someone says something that's racist, it's like, Even I was watching the the reunion of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and Kim Zolciak, which is the only white person on the show. She really isn't on the show anymore, but she has Tardy for the Party. She has her own show, which was just basically canceled because of these racial things that she was saying. And it's like she had something about roaches in someone's house, but one of the black housewives had water bugs in their home. Well, depending on where you live, I mean, there's white people who have water bugs in their home, so it's really not a race thing. But the reason why it became a race thing is because if you lived in the hood, then there are a lot of roaches. There's just roaches and vermin all over the place because of the conditions. But that really doesn't have to do anything with race. It just has to do with the conditions. And the thing is, a lot of these people are in these conditions. The people who are in these conditions are minorities. So the correlation is, and it goes back to that correlation thing. The correlation is hood, black people, roaches. And so when when this video was put out about water bugs in Nene Leakes' home, and mind you, she has a multi-million-dollar home, so she's not in the hood, So it really depends on, like I said, the location. But they made it a race. They felt that, and so everyone on the panel who was black, they were offended by that. And the reason why, and these are wealthy women, like these people have millions of dollars, and yet they were still affected by this saying of roaches. And it didn't make any sense, but it made complete sense. It made complete sense because they have it within their soul, because there's a correlation between living in the hood and roaches. And who lives in the hood? Black people. And so you associate roaches with black people. And so that's why they were offended by it. But that's only because they have emotional injuries within their soul that allow them to be triggered, that allow them to feel like, oh, I'm less than, even though they have millions of dollars, even though they're on his national TV show. It's like they still felt wounded by that comment, or by the posting, or by the happenings. They still felt wounded by that. And so you have to ask yourself, you have all of this stuff, why would that even, why would you care what anyone thinks about you? And the reason why that is because they're black. Not only are they black, they're black and they have emotional injuries. And this is the problem. Your emotional injuries. Now, if you try to talk to a black person, you ask them, I'm fine, ain't nothing wrong with me, I'm fine, ain't nothing wrong with me, I ain't got no problem. And they're lying, like they're deceiving themselves. But as long as, and you've heard me say this before, and no color involved, but if you deny what's within your soul, you're going to put up the facade, because that's what the facade is. It's a denial. And so, everyone wants to reach for, the black folks want to reach for the Nikes, and they want to reach for the expensive brands, and, living in the hood, but they want to walk around in Gucci and Guess and Louis Vuitton. I mean, and these people are riding the bus. The bus. Seriously. When I rode the bus, black people were just dressed to the nine all the time. And it's like, but you live in an apartment with roaches. Come on. You live in a small studio apartment where you have a lot of problems in the building, but you walking out of your door like you on the Atlanta Housewives or some other show. It doesn't make any sense, and this is the facade. And this facade is keeping them from seeing what's within their soul, which is why I talk about revealing the things that are within your soul and releasing those things. Some of them are emotional, some of them are beliefs. The emotions that are within you come from your beliefs. That's where they come from. So I was taught, that, white people are a certain way, which caused me to feel a certain way, which caused emotions to be within me. And so those were self-created emotions based on beliefs that I had that were taught to me. So this is why, I think 2 or 3 videos ago, I said, there are many ways to clean up your soul, to release things from your soul, to transform your soul, to increase the brightness of your spirit body, of your soul. Because the glowing of your spirit body is based on the glowing of the power within your soul, meaning the love that you have within your soul. Love is the power. So the more love you have within it, the brighter your soul condition is, the brighter your spirit body is. Does that make sense? So, yeah, you can have beliefs, but change your beliefs. And I had to change my beliefs. You know, some of the best friends that I had, like my last best friend that I had, when I moved here, we met just maybe, what September, October. I think we met in October or November. I think it was October. So like a month into moving here, I met this guy, and this guy actually was renting a room, and he lived in Beverly Hills. And that person became my best friend. Like, we were friends for like 13 years. And we're still kind of friends. We just haven't talked in a while, but we need to resolve that stuff. But he's German. Like, the man's German. He's white. And a lot of my friends have been white. And so, like I said earlier, I have not received any negativity from any white person like that. Like, no one has ever told me I'm not welcome or I'm less than. But if someone doesn't want me around, it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with their perception of me. And that's based on who they are. Because if they don't know me, how can you judge me? But that's the whole thing, is they're judging, but their judgment has nothing to do with me. Does that make sense? So we have to clean this up. If you're black, we have to clean this up. You have to clean this up. I've already started cleaning mine up, which is why I don't identify with the black community anymore. I cannot do that, because they're like, oh, we have to stick together. Well, why do we have to stick together? We have to stick together because white people are taking this, or white people are preventing that. And it's like, well, I don't feel that they're preventing me from getting anything. I'm preventing myself from getting it. I understand. I'm taking self-accountability here. I have to be responsible for myself and what I feel within me. I can't be in your group because your group says I'm a victim, and I'm not a victim. I may have issues within myself. I may have a lot of emotional injuries within myself, but that don't have anything to do with you or any other black person. It will have everything to do with everybody else if I claim to be in this group, if I choose to be in this group and live by how they want to live or how they want to understand things. Of course, absolutely. But I'm not willing to do that with my life. I'm not willing to put my life in the hands of anybody who's white, and I'm not willing to put my life in the hands of anybody who's black. I am an individual who just so happens to have a skin color based on the different mixes of nationalities that I am. But that doesn't mean that I have to live by your pain just because you want to be in pain. Just because your soul condition is fucked up don't mean that mine has to be fucked up. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is the issue with this whole black thing in terms of sticking together and black power and all this stuff. Look, if you want to improve yourself, you're going to have to get away from the things that are holding you down. But if you don't know that, if you don't understand or you don't believe you're being held down, then you're going to continue to be with it, to be involved with it. It's almost like it's a codependent relationship. It's like I can't do it on my own because we're only strong, because the belief is we're only strong in numbers. Well, you've already messed up with that one, because you're a strong soul. You're an individual. You're not you're part of a group. Well, I should say you're an individual that makes up a group, but you are not that group. You are how you see yourself. And if you want to see yourself as that group, then fine, go ahead. That's your choice. But understand that the group that you're in, that you partake in, that you belong to. So the group that you choose to belong to is the group that you're going to be governed by. And if this group is governed by pain and suffering, what do you think you're going to experience? And even if you don't experience it, and you're in that group and you're listening to someone who is experiencing it, you're going to emotionally experience it. And if the emotions are the only thing that's important, why are you taking these negative experiences on? These are the things you have to ask yourself. This is why I cannot identify with a group. Like, I can understand the group, I can understand the black community, but that does not mean I have to live what they are living. I do not have to suffer. Like, growing up, I grew up poor. Absolutely. I grew up around black people my entire life. I'm black. Hello. But just, I was raised by my mother. We were poor. And where the poor people live, well, that's where we were. Where all the poor people live. And there were a lot of black people, a few Hispanics here and there, but for the most part, they were black. And so I grew up around poor black people. But that does not mean I have to stay living there my entire life. That doesn't mean that the belief that I had when I was a child has to be the same belief that I hold as an adult. Hell no. That, you lost your mind. You lost your mind if you think that has to happen. And this is the problem. People who grow up in poverty and hellish conditions, they believe, because this is their only experience, it has to be for them. And so every day they look at their environment and they live it. They look at their environment and they live it. They look at it and live it. And it's hard for them to get out because they don't know anything else. They can see other things. They can see other people experiencing other things. They can even see other black people experiencing other things. But one thing that they don't know is how they achieved it. They don't know how they achieved it. And it's not about using your willpower alone. It's about the feeling within you that allowed you to use the willpower. So if there is someone who's black and successful, it's not just because of their willpower, it's what was within their soul that prompted them to use their willpower to have something different. That's it. But you just can't do it any other way. You have to have something, a desire. Even if it's just a desire, it can start there. Hold on. All right. Yeah, your desire. That can be the small little light that you need in order for this thing to transform you. Just a desire. You don't even have to hear anything from anybody else. If you have a desire, then you can use your willpower to make that happen. You can use that You can use that desire to change the beliefs within you. Use your desire. If you have a passion for something, you're going to have to use your desire. You're going to have a desire for it in order for something to change so that that passion can be manifested. But if you don't have a desire for that, and this is really big in terms of desire, maybe I should make a video on desire, but a lot of people lack it. They lack desire for things. Why? Because it doesn't matter what they dreamed of, if their experience is what it is. And the thing is, when we're children, we are living the soul condition of our parents. The environment that we're raised in is their soul condition environment. And so those things that created their soul condition environment are the same emotional injuries that have been transferred to you. So now this is why you're a perfect match for that environment. And sometimes what happens is their soul condition is so degraded that their children are taken away from them. And then the child has an opportunity to be in a different environment. But, I mean, there's so many different things can happen. There's no one way for it to happen. And so this is why you can never have the, there is never one right way or one way to do things. There are many ways. And the reason why that is because there's so many different variables, and people's soul conditions are in different places, and it's going to require different things in order to correct it. And one person's experience for a correction is not going to be the same as someone else's, because there's other things within their soul that need to be tended to. And so this is why there isn't a one-way fits all. It's very different. Very different. So yeah. Racism. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere because some people still need it. They still need to feel that resistance. They need to feel less than, so that they can understand what's in their soul. What is that emotional pain that's locked within their soul that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation? That's what's important, to know these things that are within your soul. And some of these things they didn't even come from you. They didn't even come from you. And a lot of them didn't even come from your parents. They were given to your parents by their ancestors. This is why it's so important to understand how these emotional injuries are passed down from soul to soul to soul. So you don't always look at your life and say, why do I have a jacked up life? Well, the reason why you have a jacked up life is because things have been passed on to you. But now, because you are your own individual, you have the power, you have the ability to clean it all up, to change all of it. And for those of you who feel, why have you been forsaken, and why do you have to be the one to clean up someone else's mess, clean up someone else's mess who didn't want to deal with their stuff? Why are you worrying about them? All you need to know is you have the power to clean up your own mess. You have the power to clean up that which resides within your soul. It's no different than you having a party and people are coming over and drinking and there's Solo cups and beer bottles all over the place. It's your responsibility to clean it up, even though your friends made the mess. It is not their responsibility. You let this madness into your home. So it's your responsibility to clean it up. Even if something happened, you didn't even know it happened. Like you walk into your bathroom and the mirror is broken. Well, it's your responsibility to clean the mirror. I'm hungry. It is to fix the mirror. Even though you didn't allow it, you didn't even know what's happening, it's still your responsibility. I'm so hungry. So anyway, and this is what, the only way racism is going to stop is if you, as a black person or any minority, if you, within yourself, on your own, clean up what's within your soul, you will not need the universe to bring you these racist people. You will not, even though I'm seeing this stuff online, it's not directed towards me. I'm not experiencing it. I'm just watching the experience of something else. Like the 2 black guys who were arrested in Starbucks. That didn't happen to me. It happened to somebody else. And if it wasn't for social media, I would have never ever known about it. Ever. I wouldn't have known about it whatsoever. It's only because of social media. I don't read the newspaper, so it wouldn't have come to me through that. Now, maybe I would have heard it if a coworker reads a newspaper and they started talking about it. But then it wouldn't even been the same. It wouldn't have even been the same experience. We saw it on video, so it was like, oh wow, that's wrong. We didn't just hear it, secondhand. We saw it firsthand on a video. But understand that that wasn't our experience. It was their experience. And so how can I be affected by someone else's experience? Hell, when someone wins a lottery, that's their experience. That don't have anything to do with me. So why? Do you understand what I'm saying? Learn from other people's experiences, but you don't have to live other people's experiences. And for the most part, there's a lot of black people out here who don't even interact with people like that. They don't have that kind of interaction. There's times people call the police in the hood. They call the police in the hood, and these white cops come out, and they're helpful, and they joke around. Like, I remember I had to call the police when we got carjacked. We got carjacked by, me and my cousin, we got carjacked when I was 16 years old. And these guys, pulled out shotguns and all other kind of guns, and they had bandanas. And we had to run. And when we ran, we asked these people to, call the police. And so these white cops came out. And actually, I think it was only one white cop. And he picked us up and took me home. We put us in the cop car. That's the first time I was in the back of a cop car. It was so ugly. The seats are very hard. So, we were in the back of the cop car, and he wasn't mean, he wasn't angry, he wasn't any of these things. And we were driving by. I guess he shined the light on these guys who were hanging out. This was like late at night, and they were just hanging out. He he shined the light on him, and they're like, hey, he's like, yeah, I know, fuck the police. And so I was like, so, I mean, the guy, he wasn't rude. He didn't say, oh, you guys deserved it, or, what were you guys doing? Did you piss somebody off? He didn't insinuate any of those things. Oh, I can't turn there. So, look, just because someone else experiences racism does not mean that you have to experience racism. That's not what that means. You are. So, just because, like I said, just because someone else experiences it doesn't mean that you have to respond in a way. But understand that if you are responding in a way where there is anger and pain, then you have something within your soul that you need to release. You have something within your soul that you need to release. Get it? It has nothing to do with the actions of others. It's what's within you that's causing these actions to come to you. If you are the one who's having the action. Hold on. Alright, I had to come through drive-through. I need a coffee. I didn't make coffee. Well, I made it this morning, but I didn't drink it. That's weird. I don't even know why I'm buying one now. Anyway, you know, gosh. I mean, if you're listening to this video and you're black, then you're going to have to figure this out. Because if you don't, you're always going to be affected by someone else who has a problem with you, with your color. You know, there's nothing wrong with your color. There's nothing wrong with your ability, your potential. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff other than you hold something within yourself that says that you can't do these things or you're not worthy of these things. But understand where that stuff comes from. It's not something that you desire for yourself. It's something that hold on. Okay. So you didn't desire to have a self of lack within you. And if you're black, I know you want to deny everything that makes you look weak, but understand that that is the weakest thing that you could possibly do, is ignore that pain within your soul. That's the one thing that prevents you from going out and getting things. It's the one thing that prevents the universe from bringing you the opportunities that you so desire. Not even just the things that you want to do. It don't look at it as like an opportunity. Look at it as the things that you want to do in your life, and you want to be able to experience those things. But the things that you are denying within your soul are the very things that prevent it from happening. It's not a white person who's preventing you from having an experience that you want to have. No, it's you. But it's the thing within you that's causing the white people to be the one to prevent you from having it. So you're running into all the people who are white or Mexican or whomever, even black people. Black people prevent black people from having things because they have, and they don't want to lose what they have. Because they understand what the lack is, and they don't want to experience that lack. So what happens is they will prevent. I work for a company, an agency. They could give a shit about. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be an agency who's supposed to help, minorities, but they doing some things to minorities that's not even cool, not cool at all. And the reason why is because they're so afraid to have. Hold on a second. Anyway, I don't know what I was just saying. Yeah, it's not anybody else. It's you. It's you. Like, I know a lot of black people. Oh, I was talking about the organization. Like I told you, I'm working out of boxes. Like, I can't even have my filing cabinets brought over. I mean, the agency won't even spend $19.95 on a U-Haul to bring our things over. And it's not that far. I think it's only like maybe 5 miles, if that. So it's not that far. The thing is, I would do it myself, but this stuff don't fit in my car. And the thing is, like, why would I pay for an organization to do, or pay for something the organization should be doing in order for me to complete their work? Like in the past I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I used to buy all kinds of things for the organization, but, it's like I have to experience my law of attraction. My law of attraction is this. It's working for a black organization who could care less about their own people. I have to I have to experience that. The thing is, I'm not feeling it. I have to feel that. That's one thing I haven't done, is I haven't felt it. I understand it, but I haven't felt it. Like the lack of support. Well, this is a continuation from my life. Lack of support. People who don't care whether you have what you need to do what you need to do. And this isn't even to do what I want to do. This is to do what someone else is asking me to do. They're not even giving me the tools or anybody else the tools to do what they want them to do, what they hired them to do. Ain't that some shit? So I'm leaving my law of attraction alone until it hits me. And this is why, I don't do anything like that anymore. I don't want to block my law of attraction anymore. If my law of attraction is working at a place where they don't care, well, then that's my law of attraction. There's other people who can get whatever they want. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people in the organization. They can get whatever they want when they ask for it. The question is, why can't I? You understand? It's about understanding what your law of attraction is. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.